Of all of the people that Mary's invited to come and talk about 80, I probably knew him the least. I was reflecting on what to talk about. A few things came to mind. 80's death was a catalyst, probably unconsciously at the time, to my relationship with Mary completely transformed my life. I'm quite sure that had that not happened, then the journey that she and I have been on may not have transpired. And if indeed it had, it would have been very different. What I get is an incredible sense of gratitude for the opportunities and gifts that have come from that. My relationship with Mary started through the Telstra Businesswomen's Awards. Mary, Heather and I became close through that process. I felt like I'd met someone whose tribe I belonged in. I witnessed Mary journeying 80's sickness and then his death, and our relationship growing through that, and her asking me to cater for the wake after the funeral. I remember at that time I was incredibly busy and stretched, and I really wanted to do it. I was a very big yes to doing it, and noticing incredible anxiety. We didn't know how many people were going to turn up, so then you don't know how much food to make. I wanted it to be amazing because Mary said food and wine was important to him. I felt like I really had to honour that. I also had to just really trust that however I did it was going to be fine. I wanted to take it out of Mary's hands. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I felt I could be most useful. So that was a leap of faith, and reflecting on it now, it feels like it was probably the first time in a very long time that I had done that. And following that, watching Mary dealing with the grief and trying to be there for her in the way that I felt I could be. Impact Solutions was so much part of 80 as well as it was part of Mary, and her trying to navigate what does that look like now? What does this organisation, what's the shape of it? What does it do? All of that big inquiry, and her generosity in asking me if I wanted to come and learn how to do her work and for her to pass that over. In the first training at 80, his energy, or the energy of his presence shown up strongly. Maybe a year after we had finished doing the training with Mary and working out how does this thing work, how does this new collaborative way of working support everybody, it got really tricky. We were getting triggered, all of us, in the not knowing how to do it. The reactivity was coming in, and there was a level of energy and intensity that was uncomfortable. It was abrasive. We were at the edge. Mary said, "You all go away and work out how you think this will work and come to me and present it to me, because I don't know how to do this." I remember going home and sitting with, what does this thing look like? How does this meet everybody's needs? How do we ensure that Mary gets what she needs and we all get what we need, and work into grace and love in a completely different way that's not about competition, that's mutual love and support of one another? We could feel the antithesis of that at that point. How do we navigate that? I was sitting at home and I don't know, I was sitting in my glass doors and the sun was coming in, and I strongly felt 80's presence. I remember at the time going, I'm just making this up. Maybe that's just a thing that I've imagined, or, I remember questioning and imagining. But anyway, this woman, this Eastern European woman, started channeling through me. Her name's Zabela Korvac. You need to be her. You need to present this collaborative business model. You need to present it as Zabela. This woman, she came through me, and she's incredibly gregarious. She has a lot of bling. She's very polished. She has long red hair. I became her. I remember sticking up big pieces of butcher's paper and writing up this collaborative business model. I have to present this business model as her. And all the time it was like, I don't know, it felt like I was playing. And again, at this presence of 80 being there, it was very strange because, as I said, I didn't really know him, certainly not in a business context. I was really impressed with the quality of what I had come up with as Zabela. When it came to presenting this with the other consultants to Mary, I got dressed up as her, as the character, and arrived in character. And everyone looked and thought, who is this? And proceeded to stand up and do this presentation as her. I just remember that feeling of delight because I love performing. I think that's what I really got. I love performing. It was almost if I stood outside of myself, the angst and the anxiety and what this meant for me as Amy was completely removed because I was this other person. And she did a magnificent job, and it was amusing and it was funny, and it was a completely different way of doing anything that I've ever done in my life. I kind of surprised myself. It's still in its infancy, an embryo. It's still in its infancy. What I got from that process and that sense of fun and delight was that whatever my soul is here to bring, there might be a way of doing it that is humorous and engaging and fun and full of energy. Afterwards, I was talking to Mary. I said, she feels like she's in me and that there is more work for her to do. I don't know how that's going to come out. That was one of the moments that I felt AD was helping to inform what Impact Solutions was going to be. Out of that process, we got clear how we wanted to work. He shows up all the time in the work, in the material. It's a constant reminder that while I didn't know him while he was alive, I'm connected to him since he's died. My life has been shaped since he's gone. My relationship with Mary has deepened and grown in a professional and personal capacity. That's been something interesting to navigate. We are very close friends and work colleagues, and amazingly we've managed to navigate that well. There's been sticky bits, inevitably, usually about money. It's for both of us the little sticking point. What I keep getting is a deep trust and love. I'm invited to keep letting go of my fears. I feel eternally blessed too. It's taken me 46 years. It's less than that, but it's taken me a lifetime to find where I feel home. So, yeah, it really goes back to doing that. Catering is when it started. I feel an immense sense of gratitude.
Did you have a catering business back then?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And it was really at the end of that, and being given the opportunity for Mary to say, I think you'd be good at doing this work. I just think about how the course of my life changed. And also, I really love Chris. It's hard for me to imagine her being with anyone other than him. They just fit so beautifully together. What I really respect is how much he honours who Adi was and it continues to be for Mary. This book has affected me and others in a profound way. It's an important book, even though it's incredibly personal. It's important for us to acknowledge if we allow ourselves. I think that saying, we die how we live, makes me reflect on, well, how is it that I want to die? Well, if that's the way I want to die, I better get busy with living well. It is that process of letting go and surrender. What came through strongly from the book was the surrender and the letting go of the fear of the uncertainty and the unknown. There's something quite liberating, and I feel a lot of relief. Like, oh God, I don't have to try so hard. I don't have to try to be me. Just be me. She's really in my heart now, and I feel like I'm in hers too. I know Adi's passing has impacted lots of people's lives in hugely profound ways, and now this book is continuing to create its own magic. It's a beautiful piece of writing. I said to Mary when I finished reading it, something lit up inside me, illuminated. Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. So that sense of Adrian's presence, do you feel that when you're working?
Sometimes I do. There have been workshops where I have felt that because the style of work that they created and the way that they hold space and facilitate, my understanding is that Adrian had a lot more rigour around systems and processes. I'm not a systems process person, although I love them. It's not my natural way. I'm more free form. I really appreciate the level of rigour that he had created. And I didn't quite get it until quite recently. Mary kept saying, follow the process. And it's tedious, but I had a real insight into it in a big body of work I did last year. I recognised, oh, okay, so if you have the framework and it's really solid and the structure and the process and the systems are followed, then you can just let that go and you just show up. You can't have one without the other. I mean, you can, but there's limited kind of success, I think. So I appreciate the work. What I feel is that level of rigour. I want to honour that because it works when I do that and then give myself permission to show up and let go of having to remember everything. It's, again, another trust. Follow the process. You've got the framework now. Just go in there and bring your magic. I can't imagine there's any other job that the opportunity or the leeway I have been given, and to also doing it the Impact Solutions way too. I can now bring my flavour to this and I can do it a little bit differently and we can update things a bit and it keeps evolving. Something I've wrestled with. How do I continually represent that brand and also myself? It's been an interesting line to walk, but I think I've done it pretty well. That seems to be the feedback.